Welcome everyone. This is episode 51 of the Transmaxxing podcast, and today's topic is transracialism and transage. So this is of course something people often use to ridicule trans people, that they think that this thing is obviously ridiculous, is the same as transgender, we cannot have that, but if you think about it, it actually makes sense that some people want to change race in some way or identify with some different race. And of course we have lots of people who want to look younger because that's more attractive. So the Emerald, which was your thought on that?
Well, in terms of trans race, it can be due to multiple reasons. For me, it was more spiritual because I was seeing basically visions of what seemed to be a past life, and it was like a recurring thing that I could track that it was the same life that I was seeing snippets of. But for most people, I would say it's probably associated with where they grew up or different cultural attachments to people that are not of what you normally belong to. And it's about comfort, really. It's just like transgender. Most people transition just for comfort reasons because they're more comfortable in that feminine body. Like, when I look at my skin tone, it feels very uncomfortable. Obviously, for me, it has to do with the past life stuff, but for other people, if they're more inclined to be closer to a different racist culture and whatnot, that can come with the aesthetics of it as well. But beyond that, you don't even need necessarily a connection because ultimately it's just a set of aesthetic features at the end of the day. You could have no relation to it and still feel more comfortable looking different. Trans age is, well, it's, I would say, from my experience, it's more associated with different developmental issues and traumas and stuff. I don't really know much about more elective versions of it. For me, it's probably combined with the fact that I never got to grow up as a little girl, and parts of me are underdeveloped to where I'm stunted in my functioning as an adult. My regressed part tries to function as an adult, but it's really difficult because I never went through a proper growing up as a girl and that sort of thing.
And I think there are some people who do struggle as adults because when you're like a child in a decent childhood, you're being taken care of by people who hopefully love you and all that. And also at school you might meet a lot of friends, but often when people grow up, they don't maintain those friendships. And then they end up becoming atomized, they don't really have much of a connection with other people, and it can be hard to recover from that and build a friend group and everything. And also, as you said, if you have missed out on growing up as a female, as a trans person, I think this would create a longing for that, what you missed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And besides that, we have the general desire for people, I guess, to not age or look younger because it's more attractive and you don't want to have your body become weaker and you lose out in terms of mental abilities and everything. So of course there's going to be this desire to remain young and fit. But unfortunately, the science isn't there, so even if you want to become a teenager again with all those strength and abilities and fitness, you cannot really get there again. It's not really possible. You can do some stuff to maybe become more healthy, but you cannot really reverse aging, unfortunately. With the trans race stuff, there are of course cosmetic procedures you can undergo. And this can be as little as like tanning yourself and having like a different hairstyle, or it can be like a lot more things. Some people go for radical surgery. I think for most people it's about identity and maybe some minor stuff with appearance. So the people who are like having surgeries and stuff is a very small minority. And even people who have those like identities. And we
Yeah,
usually give an example of that. Kamala Harris identifies as black, but then Donald Trump questioned her because she doesn't really look that black in terms of appearance. But for her, it's very part of her identity. I think she identifies as Indian as well. I don't know all the details.
well, she in her case she's literally mixed, so it's not exactly the same kind of case. She actually does have like physical black
Yeah, of course.
genetics. Yeah,
A lot of people are mixed and they might identify more with one heritage than another part of their heritage, even though they might be like 25% black, they might identify more with that 25% and like 75% white or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah.
people tend to be like very skeptical if you just have like too light of a skin and you're like trying to say you're like part black. My friend is like 50% Egyptian and like a lot of people are just like skeptical of that because like she's very white.
I think it's good to push back against like the normal beauty standards of like lighter is better as well. Because like personally, I think darker is more beautiful. It's strange that there's a negative reaction to the opposite of because people bleach themselves and whatnot and like to do like harmful things to themselves to get lighter. Well, understandably for the privilege that would give, but it's really frowned upon to pursue the opposite.
I don't think it's like acceptable in America to bleach your skin to become white really, to be honest. I think like tanning is way more accepted. Like if you go and get sunburned and it becomes slightly darker, that's way more acceptable than bleaching your skin, I think.
In most other racial groups, like Asian, Black communities, there is a lot of lightism going on, where like the lighter you are, the more privileged you're seen.
That's interesting. I guess people will always find stuff to like put themselves as superior to other people. And often it's the people who are like insecure about it. It's just the people who are mixed who might be insecure because they are like say like 50% white and then they might be like insecure about the other 50%. I'm not sure how common it is, but
I remember a specific Discord user, I think they're kind of gone now, but I remember how they complained about their skin color. It seemed very much like something you could describe as racial dysphoria. She didn't like being part Asian, wanted to be fully white.
I think in like non-white people, a lot of the time it can be well, since white people are generally seen as like more advantageous of a group to be part of, they can be like shame can push into that. Unlike transmaxing, you kind of miss out on a lot of you know opportunities if you really like go down like becoming lighter. There is different programs to support people of color these days, so it's kind of it might feel to them that white people like are more advantaged, but like just them getting lighter wouldn't actually get them the advantages that like generational wealth and all that sort of the societal aspects have given white people. So it's counterintuitive, I guess. But I mean, if it makes them more comfortable, it's just changing physical traits, just like transition and transgenders.
and of course one difference here is that with transrace stuff your options are a lot more limited. HRT is a very powerful option for changing your sex. We don't really have anything like that with race or age or anything, really.
Yeah, like for me, like I would like to connect more to the culture of that past life that I keep seeing, but it's more so like if I would actually pursue any steps to transition that way, it's just for the comfort of seeing the skin tone that I see myself as in those flashes that I get. Because I feel like a strong attachment to that spiritually, to that life, to the point that like I would really prefer to that physical trait altered in this life.
Do you strongly believe that those flashbacks are actually from a past life rather than something else?
I've gotten into more witchcraft personally, and it's been like I've been seeing more and more different visions, so I feel like it is legitimate for me. But most people, like I said, for them it's more of a societal aspect of like where who they grew up around, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think another big thing of why a lot of these things are emerging is that video games and stuff allow you to like express yourself as who you truly want to be, and like back in the day there wasn't like really much that like gave you like this sense of freedom, allowed you to like see yourself in such a way.
Yeah, for example, I enjoy playing as a female character in games, and then you can play as maybe some girl character or like a young female that looks exactly like you want her to look if there is like a good character editor. And it's not really the same with like actual transition, it's way more limited, even if it is way better than the stuff for like race or age, but yeah, I think we have to look at the options we have and base like ideas based on that. And this is maybe the main issue with trans-race stuff and trans-age is like the medical transition options aren't really there. It's not that people don't legitimately or strongly want to change it. It's just that they can't. Like there is $1 billion like beauty industry and like all this age bullshit that companies are trying to sell people what they're selling a dream, a fantasy. But of course you can still like role play as younger to some extent, mostly like in games and stuff. There are people who use this like female avatars and stuff. VTubers or like in VR chat, I don't know all the stuff too well because I don't really want to go down that path too much, but there are certainly options for people who like to explore different presentations.
I know to some aspect, like being adult, it doesn't limit you from doing some childish things. Like, if I really want to, I can still do a princess party when I'm 26, 27, or whatever. Nothing is stopping you if you want to do like some things that are a little childish. My dad loves to be a little childish from time to time as well. He thinks it makes him look younger, but he's kind of aging poorly now. But he's also in his 60s, so I'll give him a break.
I sometimes go back to play like old games. It has been a while since I really did that. But playing maybe some old video game title before all those microtransactions and everything, it can be a nice experience if you are like into that particular game. There's so much stuff from the past you can try to enjoy for yourself. There are like young people today like going back to play games that were released before they were born. You can try to get the best from both worlds. Often when you look back at the real ages, there are some good stuff you can take from it.
I will say my big opinion about it. A lot of people like have backlash about stuff and call it a cultural appropriation, but I think it's actually closer to cultural appreciation as in many ways.
Well, yeah, going back to that the standard of other races, trying to be whiter. The perfect way to counter that is like, spread your Asian and Black culture, which has been somewhat successful with like rap music and K-pop and stuff, but down to the aesthetics, that would be beneficial as well to spread to counter the white narrative.
I think absolutely that we should exchange culture more and become more united and not be all those separate groups because that only breeds conflict and resentment. And I think we should put more effort into united humanity and not be split into different countries and cultures. And I think this was
Yeah,
the end of episode 51 of the Transmaxxing podcast. I hope that you will have a nice day forward and that next time you go outside, maybe you get yourself a nice tan and become transrace. Goodbye everyone!